So in the last lecture, we had started with the topic that is machine reference model. So machine reference model was something which was the part under your execution of your virtualized environment. So the very first thing which is important is machine reference model. So here, basically, you're going to create an interfaces between the different levels of abstraction. There are three levels of abstraction we can see here: ISA layer, that is in the hardware; ABI layer, that is the operating system; and API layer, that works with the applications and libraries. So basically, this is again an important model which will help us to understand that which layers are going to communicate with which layers, how the calls are going to be intercepted, how they are going to be directed or communicated with this layer will help us to understand. Because first, when you start with virtualization, first you have to understand the model, the reference model of the machine, that how is it all about, at what level you need to abstract what things and how the communication takes place. So basically, it is divided into three layers. That is ISI layer, which is you can see the lowest level, and it acts as the interface between the hardwares and all the softwares. It is important because here you're going to have your operating system, you will have your applications which are going to be managed over this layer. So this is usually very much important. ISA layer. Okay, ISA stands for instruction set architecture, because here you're going to have a lot of instruction sets since you are working with hardware. So it understands machine level code, machine level language in the form of instructions, which is coded here in this instruction set. So basically, this is used by the registers, the memories, and all the main management of input outputs are going to be done at this level. Next, we have is ABI, that is application binary interface. So basically, it is going to separate your operating system layer and your application layers. Okay, and it is going to take care, and everything is going to be managed by operating systems. So your all your application works, which is every application need an operating system to run. So all this is going to be managed here, and all the libraries which are there are going to be taken care on the API layer, which is an highest level, that is application programming interface, where you're going to program your applications, you're going to run your applications along with their libraries. And these applications will need definitely an operating system which will be taken care by your ABI. And this both application libraries and operating system needs an hardware to make the software runs or make your operating system run, which is a basic need, which is going to be taken care by ISI. So every time you can see whenever the layer is there, there is a dotted line which says that this layer is separating from this layer and it is protecting it. Okay, so that dotted line simply refers that there is an abstraction, that whatever is there into that particular interface, that is going to be seen by them only. It is hidden from other interfaces, or you can say it is hidden from other, or in short, in order to have an abstraction. So in next diagram, you can see you have your applications on the top level, and this calls are going to be made to the libraries. These libraries are going to make a system call to your operating system, which is going to be which is required and hardware for performing. So it is going to make an ISA. So this is the levels, or you can say this is a hierarchy, that how the interaction takes place in the machine reference model. We'll move to the next now. So when I talk about ISA, okay, so it is categorized into two security classes. Okay, that is instruction set architecture. So here it is categorized into two classes. One is just privileged instructions, and second is non-privileged instruction. As I've already told you before, that ISA is something which is important to manage your registers, your memories. So it is categorized into two types of instructions, because all the security aspects are going to be come from your ISA. So it is categorized into two. In case of privileged instructions, the word itself is self-explanatory. Here you're going to have some restrictions. Here you're going to not easily perform the sensitive operations, because your values will be modified. They will be seen by others. So here you're going to have some specific restriction, that this is going to be hidden and this is going to be only allowed to see. So basically, it is again categorized into two states. One is behavior sensitive and second is control sensitive. So if I talk about behavior sensitive, it operates on your input output operation. What input output operation is being given? Like if you are giving a corresponding input, what the output you are giving. Okay. If the behavior is positive, or the behavior is, you can say, true. So if you want to show it, then you can show it. Otherwise, you will not show that behavior. It will be okay. So mostly whenever you have your sensitive operations, you don't want to show their behaviors, that what is their outcome, what is their result, then you're going to use behavior sensitive. Okay. Second, we have this control sensitive. So here you're going to state alter the state of the CPU register. Whenever you want to modify the value of CPU registers, then you're going to use this state, that is your control sensitive. Third, second category we have under this ISA security classes, we have non-privileged instructions. Okay, so non-privileged instructions are exactly opposite of it. Here you are not going to have any restriction. There will be no interference. Anybody can have an access to anything. Okay, only the thing is like they will not have an access to shared resources, because shared resources are something which is done under your privilege, which is not allowed here. So anything which is readily available, you can take it and you can execute it. So that is your non-privileged instruction. For example, can be arithmetic, floating, and fixed point. Okay. So if I talk about privileged instruction, it is categorized into three values. Okay. It is ring 0, ring 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Ring 0 is something which is the most privileged one. Okay. This is usually termed as supervisor mode, because it is going to take care of each and everything, how the other rings are going to work, how they are going to communicate, how the instructions will be processed. Everything is going to come here. Ring 1 and Ring 2 are used by operating systems. Okay, if they want to provide any services, then they are going to use this Ring 1 and Ring 2. And if I talk about Ring 3, that is the least privilege mode. Visually, it is called the mode which is handled by the user, where the user can do any changes, they can do alteration, which is the control sensitive part, which I've already told you before, is comes under your R3. Okay, so basically the current six systems which are there, they are supporting only two levels. That is ring 0, which belongs to the supervisor mode, and the ring 3 that belongs to the user mode. So either you can have a supervisor mode where you have all the rights, you can make the changes, you can do everything, which comprises of 1 and 2, and ring 3 is something is only the user mode, where the user will be given some set of permissions only to do the changes, to alter the values of the registers or memory, that comes under your ring 3. Okay, so this all comes under your privilege instruction. Always remember, privilege instruction will have this value: ring 0, ring 1, ring 2, and 3. 1 and 2 comes under your ring 0 only. Okay, so they are broadly classified now into only two, that is ring 0 and ring 3. So now we are moving to the next level, that is what are the virtualization. Okay, so first we are going to start with hardware level virtualization. Okay, so here you can see over your screens, you have your host machine, and this is being shared across. You have your VMN, that is virtual machine manager. Okay, here he is taking care of all the virtual machines, all the binary translations are going to take place on your host machines, and which is going to be managed by VMM. VMM is also going to take care of all the guest operating systems. It is going to take care of host emulation. Emulation, everybody now knows about it very well. That it refers to that you are going to emulate, or you are going to create a guest machine out of your host machine. That is called as host emulation. Okay, you need storages, you need a virtual image, because you are going to run everything on a guest machine now. So you need a virtual image. Okay, that can be a virtual image of your operating system, that can be your hardware, that can be your all the software, anything which you want to run over your guest machines, you're going to come, you need to have a virtual image of it. So basically, if I talk about hardware level virtualization, it will give you an execution environment in terms of your computer hardware, and which is going to always there on the top of your guest operating system. Okay, this is also called as system virtualization. So remember, hardware level virtualization is also called as system level virtualization. Okay, again, it is going to manage everything with the help of your hypervisors. Always remember, whenever you come across the word hardware virtualization, hypervisors are going to come into that, because they are the one who are going to take care of it. They are the one who are going to allow multiple guest operating systems on their single host. You can see what a diagram, there is a shared host, and over this the all the operating systems are working. Now you are in the example, you are just seeing one guest operating system, but there can be multiple guest operating system running on the single host at the single point of time. Okay, so these hypervisors which are managing this, they are also called as VMM. VMM, other word, when we hypervisors come into the picture in hardware virtualization, they are also called as hypervisors. Okay, so your computers which is running the hypervisor, that is nothing but your host machine. And out of this host machine, whenever you're creating the virtual machines out of it, that you can see over your screens, over your diagram, there is a virtual machine which is being created. Okay, so that is created with the help of your host machine. So that is called as guest machines. Okay, so as you all know, there are two types of hypervisors: hypervisor type 1 and hypervisor type 2. So a type 1 is called as native hypervisors or bare metal hypervisors. Here you have indirect access to the host machine hardware. So the task of managing becomes lower there, or it gets reduced there. In type 2, you don't have indirect access to the host machine's hardware. Okay, so there in that case you need one more you can say interface, that is your host operating system interface, which will help you to first connect to your host machine, create a virtualization or you can say virtual service of that, and then you can have the access to it. So usually it is called as hosted hypervisor because you need to host one more hypervisor, that is host operating system, since you don't have directly access to the host machine's hardware. So this is your hardware level virtualization. All everybody knows about it. If I talk about virtualization, that is nothing but creating a virtual version of something. So here we are creating an virtual versions of your hardware. Whenever you are using computer hardware, you are virtualizing or you are creating an or you can say virtual version of the same. Then it is called as hardware level virtualization. So first you need a host machine. Over that host machine only you're going to start creating the virtual machine out of it, because for creating a virtual machine you need an host. Okay, you need a reference. For you the reference is nothing but the host machine, out of which you're going to create the different virtual machines, and with the help of VMM you can create different guest operating systems as well. Okay, so that is your hardware level virtualization. We are going to take more into detail what are the types of hardware virtualization or hardware assisted virtualization in the next topic. So if we talk about hardware level virtualization, there are main modules into it. Because if you talk about hardware virtualizing, when you are creating an virtual version of the entire computer hardware, so there needs to be some important modules or components which are going to help you to do the same. Okay, as you know that in hardware level virtualization, we are into the ISA, that is instruction set architecture, because this is the something which is going to create an abstraction from the other layers. So here the three important elements are is dispatcher. So dispatcher is basically is something which act as an entry point for your VMM, that is your virtual machine managers. Okay, and whatever instructions are there, it is going issued by the VM instances, it is going to do the rerouting of the same. Okay, any instructions which is coming from your VM or virtual machine instances, then it is going to take that and it goes to reroute. Reroute means here it is going to pass to the other components or other modules in other words. Okay. Next we have is allocator. Allocator is something which is going to decide that which resources are going to be provided by the VM and it is going to be allocated to who. Okay. So allocator word simply refers to allocation of the resources. So all the system resources which is provided by VM, whom it is going to allocate it, how it is going to be allocated, that going to be taken care by the allocator. Next we have is interpreter routines. Okay, so basically interpreter routines is nothing but they are going to run some routine commands. They are going to check for the BIOS. They are going to check for all the input output which are there. So all the routines which are important are going to be managed by interpreter routines, because they are the one who is going to take care of all input output operations, all the processing, all the managing is going to take care by them. Okay, interpreter here refers to what? There are many commands which are like not you know something which are not the part of your system. Okay, so it is going to interpret them by using some system calls, or they are going to make some machine calls, and with that it is going to do the routine function. So that is called as interpreter. Okay, so mostly if we talk about interpreter, it is going to be always invoked by the dispatcher. Dispatcher, as you already know, is the one who is going to take the instructions from VMM and it is going to give the instructions to the other, you can say systems, or you can say other devices. So dispatcher is something which is very much important because he is working as an intermediary with allocator as well as with the interpreter routines. Okay, so in interpreter it will be have many subroutines, it will have many functions, it will have many calls. Okay, it is usually used in the case whenever you are using privilege instructions. In privilege instructions you have your ring 0 and you have ring 3 as a value. So all interpretation of those routines are going to be done here with the help of your interpreter routines. Okay, any instructions which are there which needs to be executed are also going to be done here. Any execution of daily routines activities or any boot operation, any system call operation, everything is going to be done. So that is your hardware level virtualization, and it is internally organized into three: dispatcher, allocator, interpreter. Dispatcher is something which is very much important because VMM and dispatcher are going to communicate with each other with the help of instructions all the time. Dispatcher is then at the next level is going to take care and is going to manage everything with the help of allocator and with the help of interpreter routines. Okay, so dispatcher is something which is very much important. DMM is going to directly interact with the help of instructions with dispatcher. So this was your hardware level virtualization internally, that how it is organized and how it is being managed and how they are working together and they are providing hardware level virtualization. So the next topic here is hardware virtualization technique. We have now understood that hardware virtualization is what. Okay, so now we are going to move to the categories of hardware virtualization, which is of three types: full virtualization, para virtualization, and partial virtualization. So whenever you are looking for hardware virtualization technique, you have to decide among these three that which virtualization technique you have to opt for. Okay, so full virtualization means what? You want to go for a complete virtualization. Everything needs to be virtualized from end to end, from top hardware to end hardware. Everything needs to be virtualized. Then you're going to go for a full virtualization. So in full virtualization, you can see the diagrammatic representation over your screen. This will be your hardware, okay, which will be virtualized. Your host operating systems will be virtualized. Your hypervisors are there, which are going to help you manage this virtualization. Your guest operating systems will be virtualized. Along with that, there will be the user softwares or applications which are running will be virtualized. So full virtualization means what? You are doing complete virtualization, your hardware virtualization as well as your guest operating system virtualization and your software applications virtualization. So here it simply refers that you are going to run the program, you're going to run your operating system, you're going to run your virtual machines. Okay, you're going to just run just like you have your raw hardware with you. The hardware is given to you and you're using it. Okay, so here whenever you are looking for this as a virtualization technique, you have to make sure that you have the complete emulation of your hardware. Emulation means what? You should have all your virtualized resources ready for each and everything. For hardware you need a virtualization or emulation. For host operating system you need an emulation. So everything, whenever you're looking for full virtualization, you have to make sure that you have everything first virtual is created of it, or virtual version is created of your all the interfaces or all the elements which you're going to virtualize, and then only you can go for this option. Okay, so basically the main advantage of this virtualization is like it will help you to have a complete isolation. It will give you a higher level security. You have to, the best part of it is, you know what, you have to just create virtual versions of each of them separately and then you have to combine together, and that will be turned as a full virtualization. So here it is going to help you. You can have same platforms, you can have different operating systems working on that platform. As you can see over your screens, you have guest operating system. So each of the guest operating systems can have different operating system working on it. Over that, they can have different applications also running over it. So here with this in full virtualization, it gives you a freedom. It gives you a choice that you can decide that what you want to run, how you want to run, what are your guest operating systems, how they are going to communicate with each other, and how the execution is going to take place. So in full virtualization, it is very much important that you have to first create a virtualized version of everything which you want to create in the full virtualization, because this is something which is very much easy. Okay, but in that case you need to do lot of things. Like at each level you have to make sure that all your virtualization resources are there, and all your resources are easily available, all your guest operating are there, your BMM are managed properly. So you have to take care of each and everything because you're going for complete virtualization. Okay, it is not just hardware, it is your hardware, it is your software. That is why it is called as full virtualization, where you are taking everything into consideration and you're going for virtualization. Okay, so we are going to move to the next virtualization technique now. So next we have is para virtualization. Okay, so that refers to that you're going to do the virtualization partially. Okay, like part by part when you're doing it. That is called as para. So you can see the difference between your para and full. Here you had your hypervisor, host operating system, and hardware. And here you don't have your host operating system. Okay, so your host operating system is completely removed here. Okay, so this is going to be not transparent virtualization. There is not going to be a transparency here. Okay, and all the VMM which are going to be there are going to be very thin VMM, like there is going to be a very thin layer of VMMs here. Okay, so your all your software interfaces which are there, they are going to be exposed to your VMMs, and they can be at times modified also. Okay, that is why the host is not present here, since they can be modified by the host. Okay, so in virtualization here we are not going to use host machine as virtualization, since it can be modified from the host end. Okay, even your guest operating systems can also be modified if required, and they can also do it. So there is going to be just transferring of the execution or instructions from your virtualization environment to the host. So that is called as para virtualization. Okay, this was used in your Zen servers which are there. Okay, and all your Linux operating systems specifically have working of this para virtualization. Okay, so that it refers to that it is going to just there is going to be a non-transparent virtualization technique. Your VMMs are going to be very thinly there into it, so there is an exposure from your software interfaces to your VMM, and there can be modification from the host side the VMMs, or you can say virtualization resources, or your all your virtual versions which are there. Even your guest operating systems can also be modified, or they can be changed if required. So basically, in this virtualization technique, basically you're just transferring the execution of instructions from virtualized environment or to the host. That is all about. So that is your para virtualization technique. So the last, which is the third virtualization technique, that is partial virtualization. Okay. So basically in this type of virtualization technique, the word itself is self-explanatory. Here you're going to have a partial emulation, you can say, or partial virtualization of your hardware. So here you're not going to have a complete virtualization of your hardware. Here you're going to have a partial virtualization of your hardware. Okay. So in this case, you can deploy many operating systems, and this many operating systems can run simultaneously. Okay, so that is an advantage of your partial virtualization. So here you're not going to go for a complete isolation for guest operating system. Here you can go part by part. Okay, and with this, you can have multiple guest operating system running at a single point of time, as they are working isolatedly or as they are running simultaneously. That is which is very much possible. So we can see over your screens, you have your physical shared infrastructure, which have your processor, which have your memory, which have your storage, which has your network. Then you have your virtualization layer, which is creating the virtualization of this. Okay, then you have your virtual machines, which is creating the virtualization of processors, memory, storage, and network. Along with that, they have their modified guest operating system, like you can modify here, since it is a partial virtualization technique. And then you have your applications running over it. So ring 0, you, as you know, this is the supervisor mode, which is going to be handled by the supervisor, that is your VMM. And ring 3 is nothing but the user mode, where the user can have an access to the application which is there. Okay, so here when we talk about address space, it is going to be common for all the operating systems. Okay, there will basically, it is a time sharing concept, like multiple applications or multiple users can run at the same time. They can use the same memory space, they can use same hardware resources, everything they can use same at the same point of time. Okay, but there will be allotted time slots, you can say, or they will be working in different time slots, but the shared architecture is going to be same for all the uh, applications or all the hardware resources, in this case of partial virtualization. So always remember, in this type of virtualization techniques, here you are going to deploy partially. Okay, your operating systems are going to run simultaneously, no doubt with it, but the emulation of partial version, uh, virtual version will be created of your software. Okay, so here you're not going to completely isolate. Here you're going to do it part by part, and each of them can be worked on the different time slots and on the time sharing systems. Okay, so that was your partial virtualization. So with this, we have done for the day. For the next lecture, we are going to take and differentiation between your partial virtualized para virtualization and full virtualization. Okay, so that's it for the day. Thank you, everyone.